Will Crabtree here from Gorilla Gurus and TampaPrinter.com. I am here with our guest today, Miss Brittany Ruiz, and of course my partner in crime here, Michael McKiernan, or as we like to call him, Mick Mike. Today's topic is sea breezes and social media at the Gorilla Gurus Marketing Happy Hour. Today we're going to be talking about social media marketing, and we're going to make some sea breezes. If you're not familiar with a sea breeze is grapefruit juice, cranberry juice, and vodka. So we're going to have some fun.
It's an 80s classic.
It is an 80s classic.
You can never go wrong over with some cranberry juice, I do have to say.
Yeah, as long as you got vodka in it. You know, I don't really think I want to drink any... That's going to sound great in the recording.
Oh, I believe it.
Probably should have prepped some of this ice to get it out. So Brittany,
yes,
give me a little bit of background about your history here. So I know you work for us at Tampa Printer and Gorilla Gurus, of course. But
that is correct.
What was your path before you got to us?
Sure thing. So I have my whole life have been into art. I am one of the designers here over at Tampa Printer. So my whole backstory was that I ended up graduating in the year of 2020, so I missed the entire pandemic. I got my bachelor's degree over in fine arts and illustration over at Ringling College of Art and Design. It was the college that I've been wanting to go to my entire life, so it was quite the blessing to be able to go. And I was very gracious to come and find you guys. I love it here. And aside from that, just art has always been my passion. I just love creating.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
And you have been an awesome addition to the team. We have been very happy to have you as well, and it's been great. And I can't wait to see what else you do. Every day is a journey, and I'm going to give you the smallest one, Mike. Mm-hmm. You want to trade? I'll take the smallest one.
No, it's okay, because I'm
he
going to have
did
another.
say he was taking two.
So how is that going to work? Are we going to come back in here and make another cocktail? Otherwise, we're going to need Jake to come in here and make cocktails for us and serve us while we're in the lounge.
We might need a commercial break.
Oh, there you go.
We are editing this one.
So we could stop and take a break and then come back. Okay, I like it. So in the last podcast, we went down a little bit of history with you, but since we're talking specifically about social media, I want you to tell me a little bit about your journey with social media and how we kind of got to, or how you've used social media in marketing in the past.
Sure. Well, I've done a lot of oversight with different companies, looking at larger campaigns, never really getting that hands-on, but having design teams and creative teams put stuff together and then either celebrating it from the get-go or reeling them back so that it's on point with what we're trying to achieve. Because when we're working at that level, kind of the same way we do here, we want to make sure that we have a strategy, we're going against that, and everything is done methodically, because if we do it that way, then we can be really creative. But you have to have a base there, otherwise you put a bunch of crap out. So we want to make sure that the message is always right, the voice is always right. No two clients are going to have the same voice. So I've worked very conservative programs, I've worked very loose programs, and they're still programmed the same way. They just have a very different voice, so they connect with consumers. So I did that for quite a while. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. It was just part of the job. It was just oversight, same as looking at ads and things like that, event planning and stuff like that. Then later on, I ended up doing social media semi-professionally for Ella's Folk Art Cafe. And that was great. That was really fun because it's a great venue. They had great products. We got some great shots. And we did shots, which is nice.
Whenever there's shots involved.
Like, all right, let's be creative. And it happens to be, besides a great restaurant, it's also a bar. So some cocktails, some writing. And I think we did a really good job with that. When the pandemic hit, I kind of got phased out, which made sense. They're not making a ton of money, and I didn't come on that cheap. So they decided they were going to take it on themselves, but they had the handbook, which is kind of the same thing we do with Gorilla Gurus, is we tell people how we do it. And then if you want to do it yourself, that's great. If not, we're happy to do it. I'm always happy to look at what, say, Ella's has done, because their stuff is great. It's one of my favorite social media accounts to just follow because they do cool stuff every week. And still, if they run out of time, we're happy to help them.
What about you, Brittany? What was social media for you before you worked at Tampa Printer Guerrilla Gurus? And we'll get into more of what you're doing for Tampa Printer Guerrilla Gurus later. So just tell me a little bit about before that.
Sure thing. So I've always been an avid social media consumer. My entire life, actually. Any of my family members can vouch for me. You cannot get me off the phone. I swear to God. And I just was always on social media. I mean, my whole generation has been thriving off of social media. I would like to think that our generation is really the first one to really embody it. And so I've just grown up with all these different platforms, and from my experience, a lot of experience working over with it, I just have gotten a good understanding of a lot of the algorithms for a lot of the different sorts of platforms, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or any of the various different platforms that have now arisen today. So my experience past that has just been just being a consumer, and just also doing some research on wanting to branch myself out, as an artist. I know that it's very keen and very, it's definitely a rewarding thing for you to be able to go and branch out and be your own client, essentially market yourself out. So that was what I was doing for a while.
Nice. I'll give you guys a little bit of history on my experience with social media.
Do tell.
So I started using social media both as a consumer and as a marketer, in the late 90s, early thousands, Friendster. So marketing concerts and events through Friendster, and then which really kind of graduated into MySpace pretty quickly. Friendster didn't have very, very long of a lifeline. So MySpace, we had bots that would go and leave comments, and I think what was it in MySpace? Was it liking? I can't remember.
That was before my time.
That was before your time. Fair.
Was before
See,
my
I'm in that
time.
weird age group where I'm not a millennial and I'm not a Gen Xer, but I've grown up around computers, so I've had the best of both worlds. So I've always used social media since it was something that was even available, and I've always used it as a marketing tool because I've always been in marketing in some capacity or another. So it's been fun to learn and watch and see how things have gone throughout the years. And obviously we use a lot of social media marketing now. Well, with that, let's graduate to let's retire to the lounge. We'll go over there. We'll talk a little bit more on the subject itself. But it's great to learn a little bit more about you guys and let the audience learn a little bit more about you, and we'll continue that conversation.
All right.
Sounds good.
Here we go.
All right. So what we want to talk about here and the end goal of these podcasts is we do want to be informative, right? We want to be teachers, we are authorities in this space, and we work in a philosophy where we want to empower people to be able to do this stuff on their own or themselves. The reality of it is it's very easy for it to fall to the wayside. I can attest to this as a business owner with many employees that work on this. And if we're not on it and we're not having creative meetings once a week and we're not scheduling it and we're not using all of these tools at our disposal, which is a lot, it falls to the wayside really easy. So, but even with that being said, we still want to give people some tips. We want to give people some direction on ways that they can do this themselves. So don't hold anything back, speak freely on what we do and how we do it and really what the goal of social media marketing is. So Brittany, give us a little bit of insight into your day-to-day as the social media content manager of Guerrilla Gurus and Tampa Printer.
Sure thing. So I'm always checking all of our different platforms. So as be it, we have an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a Facebook page. We have a TikTok. I know TikTok's been very big. We've been definitely trying to post more over on both platforms, specifically over there just because it's been gaining a lot of traction, especially with all different types of business. And so just every day I'm trying to just double check not only our followings, but kind of seeing the statistics, the analytics, seeing what days posts are doing better than others, what times are doing best than others. It's always crucial as a business owner to check and double just take over at those certain analytics, just because it will be very crucial going forward in order for you to market yourself out over into your clientele. But aside from that, I'm always generating posts. I'm out usually taking videos over for both Guerrilla Gurus and Tampa Printer, just running around the shop. I'm pretty sure everyone's tired of me just pulling up the phone and being like the cheesy aunt, being like, oh, smile, you know? I am definitely that, but I mean, I have a blast making all this content over for, both platforms.
Nice. So you mentioned something that I think is very important to touch on, is the time of day or the specific day that you post on. Can you give us some insight into that and what you've kind of learned?
Sure thing. So every single business is different. And I do notice, though, that there is generals, that some key tips and tricks that some people could work with. And I know that usually around times that people are usually off are the times best to post. So when people are on a lunch break around noon or maybe 1 is usually a good time. Or when people are getting off of work, posting around maybe around 5 or 6, or even before, if depending on the business hours, early within the morning, maybe around 9 or 10. Keeping those times over in check when trying to post some sort of content, just because more eyes are going to have a easier chance of being able to look over at those posts or being able to look over at the reels that you uploaded or things of that nature.
So all of you employers out there, listen to this in the sense that we're posting content around when your employees are not supposed to be working, when they're before work, lunchtime, or after work. We do still get eyeballs during those other times,
yes.
But traditionally there's less eyeballs available in the times where people are supposed to be working. And then go ahead.
Well, I think that translates to anybody who uses social media, that they can understand it, that people are like, oh, well, I never saw that. Like, but it hit your feed. And by the time you looked at your feed, it's 800 below.
Right.
That is very true.
So many things have gone through. So that's why boosting posts gives you another chance. That's and we try to post them at the ideal time, and it's going to change by client and personality. Yeah. Like for me, I've learned, and something we want to get into a little bit of how the different platforms work differently. But for me, posting about music, live music during the day isn't that effective. Like if I catch people when they're in a social mood, they're more likely to think about going to the show or remember about the show than I caught them on a bathroom break and their boss yelled at them and then they totally forgot about whatever they just saw. Like if you catch them in a social mood, it'll trigger a little bit better.
Yeah, and it always varies depending on topic. You might want to be posting something about a musical festival maybe towards the evening hours, when especially maybe towards like a Friday or something, if you're trying to promote an event. Just because people then they'll see it and then they'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that this was happening. And they'll be more inclined to go comparative over to like maybe traditional posting where you would want to keep during those hours that people are then off from work or maybe on a break. Those are those quick moments that as long as you're utilizing hashtags and things of that nature, that it's more easy for you to be able to get those eyes where needed.
Right. And that I think there's like that need, like say music isn't need based, but I know from working with restaurants, well, what am I going to eat tonight? Like, oh, is that fight that I'm gonna have with my roommate, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, what have you?
Yeah, it's the never-ending battle of where do you want to eat? I don't know.
So if you can catch them at the right time and trigger like with a great photo, which then works across different platforms of like, oh, that looks good.
Or even for a restaurant posting in the morning about a lunch special, so the people are seeing it in the morning time before they go to work, and it's like, oh, hey, we should go to so and so for lunch because I just saw a special on Facebook.
Yeah,
I like that.
That also works over for like some sort of like a deals going on, like a buy one get one, or like any let's say I don't know. The first thing I thought of was like Applebee's, where they have like a 2 for like 20 or maybe even less than that. But it's a great deal. And I mean, as long as they promote it in advance before the people actually get to that time of day, it works out in their favor.
Makes sense. So something else I want to touch on that you mentioned is hashtags.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of insight into hashtags. What are they and how do they work and why do they work?
Sure thing. So Instagram is very hashtag heavy. When people refer to hashtags, they usually are referring to Instagram. Not to say the other platforms don't use it, but most of the time they're referring to Instagram. And hashtags are essentially utilizing the pound sign followed by some words. Whatever the wording may be, it depends on the post, but there are certain hashtags that tend to do better on an algorithm like Instagram comparative to others. And that requires usually some research. But usually when you utilize hashtags over within a post, it usually will end up going and tricking the algorithm in some sort of way to showcase your posting first compared to others. The way that the Instagram algorithm works is that when you are utilizing their hashtags, they're more keen to pushing out your post. And a lot of the time people are looking for certain themes or subjects. So by utilizing a certain word, like if you have a cute dog and you put pets or you put dog lover or anything of that said nature, it is more likely to boost your post and it is more likely for eyes to look at it and then come back over to yourself.
And now hashtags, you can actually follow specific hashtags as well. So like on Tampa Printer, we follow hashtag Tampa. So we see posts in our feed on Tampa Printer for hashtag Tampa. You can also use hashtags to index and search things as well. So like our contests that we're running on Instagram, we're using a specific hashtag so that we can then go back and search for the people that posted and are participating in our contest and literally see all of the entries and how many likes they have. And it's really easy to say, well, this is the post with the most likes, so you're the winner.
Oh, of course. And it works a charm in that way, which for anyone that's watching this right now, make sure you go for any of these contests that we're having. I hope that you guys are going over onto it. We're giving away such amazing prizes and everyone's a winner. So just a little announcement there. I felt like it had
shameless plug, you know.
It had to be done. I'm not the social media manager for no reason.
All right.
So something for a lot of folks that I see is the difference between a hashtag and adding somebody. Because I see a lot of people are adding what they should be hashtagging, and then what they're getting is something very random and different.
Yes, and that is a whole different thing. Usually it is keen to use an @ symbol with a username. Those are usually the times for you to be able to plug someone in. So if someone wanted to @ Tampa Printer and make us see it, it mentions it like over within your comments. It'll come up as like,
someone tagged you, or you were
yes,
tagged by
you
so-and-so.
were mentioned by so-and-so, yes. And so that's usually if you were trying to give a shout out to someone and you want them to directly see it, that is usually a better way for you to go about it. Or you can go and shout them out on their story, like utilizing the story feature over on Instagram. And that will also claim it as a mention over onto that platform, which you're right, a lot of people do end up mistaking the two.
And it can get hilariously weird.
Oh, it can.
So like if you're like hashtag fur babies and you're like, yeah, pets, right?
Yeah.
But whoever owns fur babies might very much not be a pet. or might be somebody's pet, but not in the way that you're thinking.
Right.
And we don't want to be mentioning them into our cute fur baby post, you know?
Yeah.
So make sure that you use hashtags, which is the £, and the @ symbol is a shout out or tagging of another profile. Make sure that you don't get those two confused because they have two very different results and could blow up in your face if you do it the incorrect way.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Right. So Mike, you mentioned earlier that you did some social media work for Ella's as well as some other companies. You've been working more on the director side of the social media and kind of working on creating a plan or a plan of attack. Tell us and give us a little bit more insight into why, what, and how.
Well, so my primary focus, where I let the designers do the great work. My focus is building the character. And I think that's like the key word that a lot of people forget about in business. Social media is not an ad platform unless you're running ads. Otherwise, it is a branding platform where you want people to connect with your character, with the style. So it's very crucial to create a voice and keep that consistent. I think if it's done right, everything should feel conversational. So it should feel two ways, that if I read a post from somebody I'm following, even if it's a business, I feel like they're talking to me, not at me. So having that, and then the other thing that I think is important is, and just the way I work, so it doesn't necessarily have to be this way, but I try to segment out, like on Mondays, I'm going to do one style. Wednesdays, I'll do another style. Fridays, I'll do another style. So say it could be product, promotion, character. So if I'm selling something, I'm going to highlight that on a Monday because you're probably in your best business mode. On Wednesday, when you're thinking about what you can do over the weekend, if I'm doing something over that weekend, or there's something that could create a commonality. So rather than Friday, are you watching the Bucks game? Everybody's here in Tampa. Mm-hmm. But if you say it on Wednesday, people are like, oh, right. So I created a new connection off of that based around an event. Or if you're actually doing an event, Wednesday is that last chance reminder. So like say if it's Facebook, you've already built your event, but Wednesday is a good day to really solidify that reminder so that it's front of mind when you get to it. And then Friday, like nobody wants to be pitched on Friday. So that's when like
it's
you
Friday.
Do something fun.
It is Friday.
And you do something fun or you highlight something that's going to be fun. So if you are like in nightlife or food and bev, that's a good time to actually pitch your wares because you're promoting fun and people are in the fun mindset.
So just to summarize, and I think one of the main key points is of that you're bringing up is that through social media, a company should have a personality.
100%.
Right. So what that personality is up to ultimately the business owner. Are you going to be stiff? Are you going to be cheeky? What does your business say? What is your business's personality? But that is something that is very important to be portraying through social media. And that's really the whole point of having a business profile through social media. It's not necessarily about marketing, but it's about connecting with your audience, gathering another reinforcement of that personality, and being able to engage with who your potential audience is to reinforce any advertising or marketing that you may be doing, whether it's through social media or otherwise. Go ahead, please, Brittany.
Oh, pardon me. I wanted to piggyback off of a great thing that you mentioned, and it's that a lot of clientele, especially there's a huge misconception with branding yourself and having a personality and trying to post over within a given thing. It is very crucial to not make your posts very ad related, which I remember you mentioning. A lot of people make it seem they're like, oh, I have to promote my new, let's say my new food special that's coming on, my new lunch line. All right. And they'll make a post, but it'll seem very ad-like, whether it's the graphics or maybe the wording. And it is very crucial. Like for most people that are usually on social media, they don't want to look at ads. A lot of people skip over ads a lot of the time. And I don't know if any people over back home, if they can relate to this as well. But even for myself, if I see an ad, I'm just going to be like, I don't want to see this. I want to see what my friends and family or things are posting. So
right.
And it is very crucial that like when generating posts that it has some sort of personality or is kind of mimicking how most of other people's feeds are coming out, whether it's just like a single post or like a carousel reel post where it's like 3 different images in one that maybe is a little bit more informative. Having that sort of direction compared to like a very just graphic ad type feel is it's very important in order for you to be able to.
Well, and if you look at businesses that post nothing but ads, right? So all of their content is ad driven. There's no personality behind it. There's not really a lot of engagement behind that. But when you have photographs and you're doing video and you're showing people and engagement, then the engagement within the content itself, that's what initiates the engagement from the user standpoint. So the eyeballs that are seeing it, if there's an engagement going on in the content that's being presented, then it entices them to engage with it, as opposed to, here's a thing, look at this thing, this is what we do. You're just going to scroll right past it.
Very
right?
much so, yeah.
Right. And I think, there's so many different things you can do. A lot of it depends on how much time and effort you're willing to put into it. Mm-hmm. So one of my favorite techniques to use is the huge call out of like, okay, I've got this thing coming up. I worked a anniversary event. Send us your pictures, your favorite pictures from our place. And we got hundreds. And it just blew up because people don't just want to see what we have to say. They want to see what other people have to say. Mm-hmm. And then it created more content for other things. We ended up, huge pain in the butt, but we ended up making a giant slideshow that we projected throughout the entire event that was really cool because these are actual people who are now coming to the event and they're seeing themselves and they're calling their friends to come check it out. But we could have never gotten those pictures without social media. But that social media made it theirs, not ours.
Right.
So like it's an us, not an us, or it's a we, not an us. You know, so I think to do it really well, you're speaking with people as friends, depending on your brand. Like I've seen some just get weird. So like the two angry lawyers that you see on buses all over Tampa, like they're angry. And then they have all this friendly stuff on their social media. I'm like, well, who are you? Like, I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be angry all the time, but they are completely different from what their ads are to this.
So this is a prime example, right? So if Jake from State Farm, everybody knows Jake from State Farm, right?
Yeah, he wears khakis.
Insurance and attorneys, like these are really like the two worst possible organizations. And I apologize for anyone who works in insurance or is a law or in law or is an attorney. No offense, but really like from a consumer standpoint, like the
We
shit
need
that you
both.
really don't want and that you don't need, but you really have to have, but you begrudgingly have to have. If those types of companies can have a personality and have something that you remember, like Jake from State Farm or the cavemen from Geico or the little lizard from Geico, like if those types of organizations can create a personality, and not even through social media, but through TV, which nobody watches anymore, but if they can create a personality through those types of organizations, anybody can create a personality. You just have to know how to do it. And that's where we come in, or we can help. But your personality as an organization can still reflect your personality as an owner. I think as a business owner, from Guerrilla Gurus, both of us, as well as mine as Tampa Printer, I think that my businesses very much reflect my personality in that we're kind of cheeky and kind of obnoxious and, you know, a little bit of an asshole, but, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a character per se, but just enough personality behind it. That
Well, it's the voice.
a voice.
The voice
Correct.
might have a face as a character, but either way, you're going to have a voice. And I think for a lot of companies, I mean, we were speaking of this professionally, it's important to understand you don't have to get it right away. It's something that evolves because it's not going to make sense. Whatever's in your head is not going to sound right to the consumer.
Right.
So as you evolve it and as you get that feedback and you're, hey, you know what? People react more to this. Maybe we should speak more like this. And unless you make the fatal mistake of like letting Bill or Sue in the mailroom, like, hey, just go nuts on our social media. And then they say something awful that just screws you forever. I mean, you see venue owners in nightlife and restaurants and things like that kill their business all the time
They
because
get canceled because they say the wrong shit.
yeah, had a couple of cocktails and then they really fuck up.
Cancel culture is a thing.
Yeah.
Very much.
So
Very
like
much.
I've made the mistake myself on my personal feeds of like, whoa, did I just say that last night? Wow. But then you go back and you're like, professionally, put a stopper on it. Like, all right, anything I do, there's a gap before it goes out.
So the to summarize again, so the key point here is have a personality, but make sure that it's not Sue from the fucking mailroom that has the personality, that it is something that you have cultivated, that you've created, and that's being translated either through you or whoever is doing your social media management for you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like it should be crafted.
Very much so. Very much so. So I want to touch on some tricks and some tools and some different things to kind of streamline this, right? Because we talked about all the different platforms. You've got TikTok, you got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got LinkedIn, you got Instagram.
Yeah.
What else am I missing here? I mean, you got Reddit, you got fucking. There's another one that's Snapchat.
Snapchat, Tumblr.
Yeah.
Oh, the list goes on.
There's so many different platforms. Now, granted, we don't indulge in all of those for our own brands, but we do manage some of that stuff for other people on their behalf. What is a way that you can streamline some of this and make it more manageable? Because if me is somebody that's just trying to start a business and I'm trying to do this on my own, if I'm trying to manage all of these different platforms and create content for all these different platforms, do posts and all of this and interact with people, it's a full-time job. How do you streamline this?
So, utilizing content creator like calendars are usually a great way to be able to manage the specific sorts of platforms. I know things like Hootsuite are great, but just making sure that also keeping track of which social platforms you want to keep your business on. Not for all businesses, you don't have to have a Snapchat, you know. You can keep it to like LinkedIn, or you can keep it to Facebook. You can keep it over to Instagram. Those are usually key ones that you would want to make sure that at least you have some sort of social presence on. They have a large following on all three of those. And those would be ones that I would recommend, especially over if I'm starting up my own business. I would make sure at least I have a platform on all of those, just to kind of cover a little bit of some ticks there. I mean, just for instance, like if you think about it, most people end up utilizing Facebook. You know, most people do have a Facebook profile. And then from past that, Instagram, a lot of people have jumped either on that. They have like a platform because Facebook is now owned over by, Instagram's now owned by Facebook. Mm-hmm. They have it conjoined over. So like some people, they now have just branched off into that. And then of course, LinkedIn is a very professional business profile. So you want to make sure that you're also posting on that as well.
So can I post the same thing on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn? Can I post the same content across all of them?
It depends on what type of content you're posting. Usually, no. There's a lot of things on like Instagram that are a lot more, if you wanted to be more cheeky or more fun, that you would maybe probably post on there, or maybe their Reels profile. Those are things that like you would want to keep it more fun and more entertaining compared to like something on LinkedIn that you maybe is going to be more talking about your company, or maybe just talking about the products that you're giving, or things of that nature. You want to keep it definitely more business oriented. It's just that type of platform.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like LinkedIn is more like networking than consumer interaction.
Yes.
I mean, there's going to be some bleed over, but for the most part, it's business to business versus business to consumer.
Correct.
Makes sense. And you mentioned, what was the program that you mentioned to do the scheduling? There's
some Hootsuite in specific. I found it very user friendly. I'm not sponsored, but
yeah, we're not a subsidiary, but
we're not sponsored. But I do want to say that it has been very helpful. It's a really good content calendar. I know sometimes even some people, they tend to find like a Google Calendar, just being able to have it in that some sort of way have been helpful. Just being able to look over at it and be able to utilize it on different platforms that you can log into, and just be able to see step by step how you're going to be creating your content.
And you know, we're a graphic design company, a marketing company, and a printing company, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of the content that we're putting out is very polished. Mm-hmm. Not all of it is very polished, but a lot of it is very polished. But one thing that I want to point out is your content doesn't always have to be polished. You don't have to have top-end graphic design for everything that you're posting. And what really is going much further, and even what I see in the content that we post, is stuff that's just generated around team members, people. That goes much further than our polished, produced videos or polished, produced designs. So as if you're a small business and you're just starting out and you're trying to create content, just record yourself. Get in front of the computer or record your pets and try to incorporate that somehow into your business. If you've got a business related to pets, even better. But
right.
you know,
finding a way to create content that is not going to A, break the bank, B, be super time consuming, and then again utilizing one of those tools to do the scheduling, create a calendar, create a bunch of stuff on the front end. That's one thing that Hootsuite does, is you can create a bunch of content, you can schedule it, and then actually have it broadcast to specific platforms simultaneously or scheduled out. So that's the real big power of that platform. And that's one of the big tips that I want to throw out to people, is that Hootsuite program is something that you can get for, it's a nominal fee, and it will literally streamline things a lot for you. It's something that we use to manage it. So if you're looking to do social media management and marketing on your own, those are some very powerful tools that you can use.
Well, I think talking with clients I've had who moved to a professional service who didn't necessarily need to, like, do it if you need it. If you can do it yourself, do it yourself, because that's going to be the most genuine way to get out there if you're comfortable with it. But what I found is a lot of people burn out on it, and it's the death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's not because like, oh, there's this big job to do. It's that I have to do this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for people who try to do 5 days a week, which is bananas. But like, you don't have to do it on the spot. You can create it ahead of time, and then like through somebody like Hootsuite, or there's some CRM programs that allow you to do it that will then post then later on. So you could theoretically, you could do a month's worth of stuff, give yourself some gaps. So you put in some topical stuff as it comes up.
Well, and even if you're doing an email newsletter and you're using like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp or any of those programs, most of them will actually post to Facebook and LinkedIn. You wouldn't really want to post anything from a newsletter or an email newsletter into Instagram or TikTok. But if you're already creating content for a email blast or a newsletter that you're sending out every other week or whatever it is that you're doing, most of those programs, if you set it up correctly, will automatically broadcast to Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So that's just another way to create content that you're already creating, utilizing it for these other platforms so that you're still putting out content. That's one of the big things that most people misconstrue with social media, is that you don't have to post every day. You can post every other day, or you can post a couple times a week, especially if you're being strategic and you're posting it at the right time of the day on the right day, but also still borrowing content, but tweaking it, right? We talked about you don't want to post the same thing on LinkedIn that you posted on Instagram. The message can be the same. You're just going to format it a completely different way. So being able to create your content and streamlining that to where you're borrowing the message from different things and just formatting things differently and utilizing some of these tools that we're talking about will make it a lot less cumbersome and streamline the whole process for you. Word.
Couldn't have said it better.
So I want to talk about Reels, because Reels are like the new big thing, right? You know, there's this ongoing joke that I sit and I watch all the Reels while I'm on the toilet, so that I can come up with ideas for what we're going to do for our Reels. And I TMI'd this, and I'm going to do it again, so I apologize for the TMI. But Reels are like the new thing in social media. So I want you to kind of give us a little bit of insight into what Reels are, how they work, and what the benefit of them are.
Sure thing. Reels is essentially Instagram's TikTok. To sum it up. So anything, which a lot of people, if they don't know already, you can post the videos from TikTok that you're making and just place it over onto Reels. Reels is just another way of being able to take video formats. It's actually formatted it to be only vertical, not really landscape wise. And it's about maybe 15 to at most 30 seconds of a video for you to post. And it's been huge now. You still utilize hashtags very much so as you have over with posts, but now, I mean, Reels has been booming. It's been pushing out videos that people make onto this Reels platform that is integrated into the Instagram app. And it allows just for any content that you're generating to just get streamlined. And I mean, I sometimes run across random people's videos when I'm going and scrolling through, and I'm just like, I don't even follow this person, but yet here I am watching their video. And a lot of the time, it's because of those hashtags. It's because of the time they're posting. It's because just all it working with the algorithm.
So that's one thing that I do want to talk about and touch on with Reels, as well as TikTok, is that this is a way to reach people that are not following you. This is a way to put content in front of people that are not following you. When you're on Facebook and you're posting to your feed, or when you're on Instagram posting to your feed or posting to your story, the only people that are seeing that are the people that already follow you. So if you only have 30 followers, you're creating content for 30 people to see it. And all 30 of those people are not even going to see it. Where with Reels and with TikTok, the way that algorithm works is it's all about the hashtag. It's also all about the content. There's trends that are going around where there's certain songs that you can use. There's certain dances you can use. There's certain things that you can do that's going to get you into that rotation. And I'm on these things scrolling all the time. Not that I'm in the bathroom all the time. Either way. No,
that is exactly what he's saying.
But no, so you scroll through these things and it's very interesting to see, because you'll see 100 different people do the same thing 100 different ways, but there's different messaging attached to it, and they're promoting different things. And you're seeing people that have 5 likes and people that have 5 million likes. So it's very indiscriminate of who it's displaying things to and how it's displaying them to people. So there's really a lot of opportunity to get your content in front of more people utilizing that platform. And if you're using TikTok attached to Instagram Reels, you can use the same content across both of them. So then you're doubling your exposure and you're getting past and getting away from just the people that already follow you.
Yeah, and you mentioned a great point. There is trending songs and trending dances and trending almost anything at this point that as long as you're keeping track of, I know on TikTok it highlights it as like trending, like it literally has like a little fire symbol and it'll say trending. And it'll display trending videos, trending sounds. It'll give you like the entire playlist of different trending sounds, which the possibilities are endless. So as long as you're keeping track of those things, it's very easy for you to just be able to jump over onto that bandwagon and just be able to have your content being posted along with it.
Nice. I like Reels. Reels are fun.
Reels are fun.
So something else that I want to get into a little bit, and this might be a little out of scope for you, but I think you still might have some feedback on it.
Sure.
And I know, Mike, you've got some experience with this working with me on it, is actually using the advertising platforms associated with the social media. So aside from content creation and engagement with your audience, which we need to revert back and cover some engagement stuff as well.
For sure.
But the advertising platforms that you can utilize through your Facebook and Instagram, and really, I would say Facebook and Instagram are the most powerful because you can create an ad from Facebook and boost it or display it on Instagram and vice versa. And boosting posts is one of those ways that you can get more eyeballs aside from your followers on it. So boosting it doesn't just boost it into the feed of the people that are following you, but you can also demographically target people that are like your audience. You can do lookalike audiences compared to the people that already follow you. But you can also go in and say, well, we're going to promote a UFC fight at Ducky's tonight. So we're going to look at anybody that follows UFC or anybody that likes UFC or people that like Conor McGregor or what have you. And we can say, well, we're only going to do these people that are within a 5-mile radius of this location, and then boost the post and show the post to those people. So there's a lot of different filters and a lot of different tools that you can use to not only boost posts, but to also run ads, promote videos, and do various different things and use Facebook as an advertising tool. But if you're using it as an advertising tool, but you don't have the content to back it up, you're kind of you're half glass full, half glass empty. So Mike, give me a little bit of insight on how you've been able to utilize some of these tools on your end for some of the clients that we've worked with, and the results that you've seen out of that.
Well, like where we do a lot of different things, like ad-wise, digitally. We do geofencing, display ads. The social media ads, although more limited for very specific industries, which there are workarounds-ish sometimes, they connect with an audience that you can only get there. So not everybody is going to CNN.com, but everybody is going to Facebook,
right,
for the most part.
Yeah.
So making sure that you understand how to connect with those folks and making sure that the message is right, I think can be very powerful. And making sure that their voice is like a continuation. Like the companies that we've worked with the best that are doing Facebook have a good personality. They know who they are. And now we're just giving those potential customers more of that. So it's like, oh, I saw an ad. Then I went to the page and everything looks right. Like, oh, this feels good. It feels right. And then when they actually talk to somebody, there's no disconnect. So it's not necessarily something you would do for just a product without a personality. It doesn't make as much sense unless it's a must-have thing, of like something that's so unique and weird and exciting. But for general advertising, I think that through social media, it's really about continuation of personality and having those clients that it makes sense that they have, if they haven't finished it, they've at least begun to craft what that personality is.
So the content of the page should back up the advertisement. If you don't have content, if you don't have a personality, if you haven't created a culture within your social media profile, probably shouldn't be running ads, right?
Right. Well, and you don't want people to feel like it's a bait and switch. Mm-hmm. they're like, oh, here's the thing. Oh, that looks really cool. I'm going to go check it out. And then you go and it's something completely different.
Right.
So that's where even if, and we've done this to a limited degree, even if you have different companies representing different aspects of your business, allow us to interact too, so that you have a team. Maybe we handle something specifically, somebody else handles something specifically, but we have that cohesion. And I just recommend that for everybody. Like, don't have that disconnect, especially if you're playing with social media, because it's so obvious right away.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I think a lot of people miss the boat on is engagement, right? So I mentioned earlier that we had a bot back in the day on MySpace, and the bot for MySpace would go and be friends. You were friends on Facebook, or I'm sorry, on MySpace. So on MySpace, you became a friend, and then you could send messages, and you could do something where you could comment on something. The UI escapes me now. It's been so many years, but that was sort of what the bot did. Well, then we had, I've had bots for LinkedIn. I've had bots for Facebook. It's been many years since you could get away with using a bot on Facebook. And then when they took over Instagram, they kind of cut all of the bots. But we had a bot on Instagram for a long time where you could follow and unfollow and like and comment, and you could create and follow certain hashtags or search certain hashtags and seek out posts. And this was really a great way to build a foundation of followers really quickly by using these bots, because they were doing a lot of the work for you. Same thing with kind of LinkedIn, creating connections and sending messages and so on. Well, you've mentioned algorithms and software and AI, and all of these companies have figured out, well, these bots are just creating a bad system. They're creating a bad platform where we have bots interacting with bots, and it just creates shit, right? So most of them have nixed it. Even recently, we were on LinkedIn, and there was a bunch of people that we were connected with that I'm like, well, if they're not local and they're in Bangladesh, like, we don't really need to be connected with people in Bangladesh that are selling marketing services. Like, let's just unfollow them, right? Or unconnect with them. So I had one of the gals in the office go through and do a bunch of unconnects, and we got flagged for being a bot, using a bot when we were doing it manually, right? So we have this method that we call being a bot, where we actually go through and we do interact with other profiles, and we do like things, but we don't do it indiscriminately. We're liking things that are relevant to us. We're commenting on things that are either relevant to Tampa or relevant to products and services that we offer. But we're creating that engagement where we're not just scrolling through our feed and looking at things, because that's what a lot of people miss the boat on, is that you can create content all day long. And again, we mentioned earlier, if you've only got 30 followers, only those 30 people are going to see it if you're only posting it in your feed. But you're not going to build more followers by just posting. You have to engage. You have to go out and seek people. It's not just, I'm going to put it out there. If you build it, they will not come. You have to engage with people. So I'd like to hear from both of you guys on how you think that works for people, how people are missing it. And even, I mean, you both know kind of the methodology of the way we kind of do things. And I think it even needs some work. I think the being a bot is kind of becoming obsolete, and we really need to pick up our engagement and do better.
So I would say, just engagement in general. Whenever anyone comments or likes, mostly comments over on a post that you would post, I always recommend commenting back. I mean, it just shows not only that you're a friendly business, but it does boost that engagement. And even going out of your way, searching up hashtags and maybe have something to do over with the products that you're selling, and you see someone that they really are, let's say it's an artist in the area, and they're used to selling prints, but maybe they just, they need a new print service. They maybe, you don't even know that, but as long as you comment, you're like, hey, you have a really cool print there, like you should check out some of our stuff. Just building up a conversation is honestly the best way to go about trying to have some sort of engagement, especially over on things like Instagram or even Facebook. as long as you're being friendly, of course. You don't want to sound like an ad, and we kind of went over that. Just being
Or
friendly.
don't talk shit. Don't like go on and like trash somebody and then like follow them and hope that they're going to follow you back.
Yeah, don't make them feel like garbage and then expect them to buy your product. But that's just common sense. But yeah, just being able to have that engagement and just commenting is very crucial.
Well, I think that the general psychological aspects of marketing still apply. Is you're just going through a different format. So classic experiential dialogue-based marketing is you say something, I compliment that. Oh, okay. You feel that way? I feel that way too. What do you feel about me? Ask them a question. What do you think? They say something positive, you compliment on that. If you compliment on something that they said positive about you, there's something like 20 times more likely to say it again. So then it comes to life outside of Facebook and Insta and on and on. Now they got positive reaffirmation on something that they said about you that you want them to say, and they're more likely to say it again, whether that's in social media or in person. So the more you do that, the more you're creating a bond with them, and that's the way that you get brand loyalty.
Oh, and if you can get someone to start talking about what you did on social media, you win the game.
Yeah.
That's the deal. If you did something on Facebook or Instagram and then people are talking about it in person, that's the win.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do things live, that's your opportunity to get them to go on first person. You don't get what you don't ask for. So if you have an event or you have, good customer service, ask people to go onto Facebook right there. Because if you don't, they won't do it. But you do that, create a reward for it, bribe them, whatever. If they had a positive thing, you want them to have more of a positive thing so that they talk about it, because then they're going to come back and they're going to tell their friends about it. And that's one of the best ways to grow your following.
I agree. So just to reiterate what you're saying, and I think we do some of this here, but is bribing people to interact with you on social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or encouraging people to interact with you on social media. So if you have a product or you have a brick and mortar business or you have people that are interacting with you in person, and not even necessarily in person, it could be completely digital and they just ordered from your website, but encouraging your customers and your users to engage with your social media, I think that goes above and beyond. It goes a million miles. So if you did have something where they were, we get messages all the time, oh, this was great, your design team was awesome, or customer service was great. It's like, oh, well, please leave us a review, or please mention us on Facebook, or go somewhere other than just sending us an email to share this information. Because if we go in and we share it, it looks like a shameless plug. But if you share it, then it goes a long way. But being able to frame that in the way that you're asking, and you're not being cumbersome. You're not asking somebody to do something too far out of their way.
I'm feeding off of something that already happened,
Right.
that already exists. I'm not, like, say, if I'm working a retail counter, I'm not asking everyone who walks in to do it.
Right.
But somebody who already has something very positive, like, oh, I would love it if you would share that. That would be great. And we've seen it here. People just whip out their phone. Oh, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's rad. And then double down. You're rad. You think we're rad. We're going to try to be radder. Here's 10% off of something, or here's
Right.
Here's
so
the
rather
thing
than
here.
using a carrot to try to get people to do something for you, when somebody's already outwardly being squee or happy or excited or sending a compliment or doing something that's engaging with you off social media, trying to bring that into social media, and not even necessarily bribing them to do it, but just asking them and then reinforcing that with a
Reinforcement
reward.
is a better word than bribing.
Right. No, and well, bribing would be having a sign up that says, hey, mention us on social media and we'll give you $10. That's bribing somebody. Someone coming at you and saying, hey, you guys are really awesome. Thank you so much. You did a great job. Be like, hey, would you mind saying that on your Instagram story? And then them doing that without any sort of reinforcement, and then still giving them a reward.
Right. And then, the more you're creative, the better off you are, that you can have little placard on your counter that has a QR code that's going to take them right to exactly where you want them to go, just to make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not saying I don't want everybody to do that, because I want everything to be positive and I want it to sound legit, but but if they are, so I don't have to type it in. It's kind of like, oh yeah, just there you are. You're on my thing. That'd be rad.
So we're getting pretty close to time here, and I've got one more thing that I want to bring up really quick, and this is something that and I don't want to toot my own horn, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever thought of this, but the dedicated device. This is something that I've preached to many businesses. We've had a couple people adopt it. We actually, I'm a firm believer in practice what you preach. Mm-hmm. So we put it into effect here, where we have a dedicated device. It's only that device. It's internal, so it's nobody's specific or personal phone that has all of our social media profiles on it. And Brittany, you're sort of the device master. So I'm curious to hear your feedback on how you think that's worked, if you think it's worked, and what the benefits of that are.
Sure thing. I am the gatekeeper of the phone for sure. Yeah, I have found it very useful. I mean, all of the, as you were mentioning, all the different apps, all the different platforms are there. And it gets very, it's just very easy because at times per se that, let's say any of the other people that end up working here, that they maybe come up with a great idea. I'm always open to any idea. They can always just take a phone themselves and just record, and then we could stitch something together later on over on the social media platform. But having that accessibility and having everything just on one unit, one device, just makes it easier all around, is the best way that I could put it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're a one-man show and you don't necessarily need a separate device, or even a 1 or 2 man show or 1 or 2 person show, you don't necessarily need a separate device, but it's really great for like restaurants and bars, or even big teams that are doing a lot of different content creation. To have that specific device that's dedicated to your social media, it can be passed around. Different people can do different things and interact with it, and it keeps everything consolidated. Something that I've interacted with a lot is you'll have employees come in, they'll create a profile, they'll manage that profile from their phone, then that employee leaves, and then you as a business owner are trying to locate that profile or get access to that profile, and then you've got multiple profiles, and just shit gets really convoluted really fast. So this, having one dedicated device, no matter who's working at what time, whether they continue to work for you or not, you know that you have your logins, you know where your content is, and you can have anybody work within that system whenever you want. So that's one of my big tips. I hope everybody's found this very, very informative. I think we've given a lot of great information on this one. So this was episode 2 of the Guerrilla Gurus Marketing Happy Hour. I feel like we should have taken a break and made a second cocktail. But if you guys want to hang out and have a second one afterwards,
after party,
I'm gonna make one.
I'm still working on the first party.
So, Brittany, it's awesome to have you part of the team. We really appreciate everything that you do, and thank you for being a guest on today's show.
Pleasure being here.
I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime soon. And McMike, it's always great to see you.
Yeah.
Aren't you a regular?
So far.
Yeah.
There we go.